Hi there and welcome to part 8 of my 100-day drawing challenge for 2019. This week I did prompts 49 to 55. So let's jump right in and prompt number 49, which was sunset. I'm gonna be honest, it's unfortunate, but right off the bat this one isn't my favourite. I decided to go with something kind of similar to last year in that I did the sunset colours down this character's hair and outfit rather than just drawing a sunset, because I'm not great at landscapes and stuff and drawing skies and things like that, so I didn't really want to try and draw an actual sunset, so it's more a character inspired by a sunset. So I attempted to do a gradient down this character's hair and outfit, which goes from like a light purple to a bright orange to a slightly lighter orange to a yellowish orange and then to a bright yellow. I don't know why, but on this particular day I was kind of struggling with getting her pose to look right. I don't know, the anatomy on this one really was difficult for me for some reason. I don't know why. I was just having kind of an off day. It's a bit disappointing that I'm starting out this video with a not fantastic illustration. This definitely isn't one of my favourites from the challenge, and it's not even one of my favourites from this week. I still think that the colours all look really pretty together. And then I went with a bright yellow circle in the background to kind of tie it together. I do think the colours of this one are pretty, and I would love to try and redraw it at some point in the future, but it's not one of my favourites. Prompt number 50, and I can't believe that this one marks the halfway point of this challenge. It simultaneously feels like I'm way past halfway and nowhere near halfway. It's really bizarre. I feel like I've been doing this for 100 years, but I also feel like I've only been doing it for a week. It's really bizarre. But prompt number 50 was dandelions, and I did want to do something kind of similar to last year, but I definitely wanted to improve upon it because I had so many issues with my illustration from last year. There were so many things that I wanted to improve on, and I think that this one is miles better. There's still things about this that I would like to improve, but most of my complaints with this illustration is just to do with the way that it was drawn. Like, I really hate the one hand and the way that that's drawn, but overall, I actually really like this one. So I decided, instead of just doing a character sitting in some grass with some dandelions, I went with a kind of dandelion-inspired fairy character, kind of like a little flower fairy character. And I gave her short hair, which I later coloured bright yellow, which is also supposed to kind of relate to the dandelion prompt. And I gave her this cute green outfit with these 2 shades of green, which I think is really cute. And then her skirt is supposed to represent the dandelion seeds. And then I also drew her holding a dandelion, which is kind of blowing the seeds away off into the distance, which I think is really cute. I finally got a new white pen, which was absolutely vital for this prompt, in my opinion. I don't know how I would have done this without it. And I coloured the circle in the background a pale blue to represent the sky, and I even doodled some little clouds in there near the end. And I think it just frames the character really nicely, and you can clearly see the little dandelion seeds floating away off into the distance, which I think is really cute. So yeah, overall I really like this one. It isn't perfect, like I said, I really don't like that one hand and the way it's drawn. It looks really bad, but overall as an image, I do quite like this, and I think I'm sort of going in the right direction with the way that I'm doing these prompts now. Prompt number 51 was bonfire. So kind of in celebration of bonfire night, I did a bonfire prompt and also a fireworks prompt, which will be the next one. So for bonfire, I wanted to do something really similar to last year. Again, I know I say that a lot, but I've taken a lot of inspiration from last year's illustrations and used that kind of as a way to focus on what it is that I want to improve on. So looking at last year's illustrations has really helped me to learn what it is that I want to improve on and how to make it better this year. But I went with kind of a similar idea. I did the fire in kind of a similar fashion to last year by just kind of freehand drawing it with the markers rather than outlining it. And then I just drew one character this year because I didn't want to overcomplicate things, and I quite liked the way that this was thumbnailing on the page with just the fire and then there's one character. And this character is kind of similar to the one that I drew last year, except I changed the colour palette a little bit so that it would look better against the fire. I stuck with greys and blues, so then the fire could really stand out as being this bright orange and yellow. I think the colours that I used for the two characters last year were kind of a mishmash of colours that didn't really all look very good together on the page, so I stuck with kind of a clear scheme for this one. And then I did the same thing that I did with my Halloween prompts and played around with the lighting a little bit. So I shaded the character with some light yellow and some bright orange to indicate the light from the fire is kind of illuminating them, and I think it looks really cute actually. Again, there are some little silly mistakes here and there, but overall I still kind of like this one. I think it's cute. And prompt number 52 was fireworks. So this one didn't turn out very good. I don't hate it. I feel like it was kind of a good effort, but I've drawn fireworks quite a lot of times in the past, but always digitally. And as it turns out, fireworks are a million times easier to draw digitally than traditionally. I'm sure there is a way of doing it traditionally, but the way that I attempted it didn't work. So I thought about this one for a long time and wasn't sure how I was going to get it to work and how I was going to get those fireworks to look really bright in the sky. I didn't want to draw them on a white page because I just thought that it wouldn't look good to have all these bright colours on a white page. So I did colour the circle that I've been using for most of these a dark blue, and then attempted to use gel pens and metallic markers on top of that, hoping that they would be quite bright against that dark blue, but it didn't quite work. The gel pens just didn't show up, and I hope that you can see in the footage that I was kind of drawing the gel pen on there, and it was just kind of sinking into the page. I don't know what was happening. It looked really bright for a couple of seconds, and then it would just disappear. I don't know what was up with that. And then the metallic marker, which did sit on top of the page nicely like I wanted, but it still looked kind of dark and not as bright as I was hoping. And then I added some white elements too with a white pen to see if that would brighten it up, and none of it was really working. So this one was kind of a failure, but I learned a lot, I think, from it, and I think I might stick with drawing fireworks digitally from now on because it's so much easier and you can put lighting effects on it and glow effects on it, and it's just so much easier. Prompt number 53 was butterflies. So I have already done a butterfly prompt this year because this one, number 53, was the number that I picked way back. I can't remember what prompt it was, but when I had to pick two random numbers with a random number generator and then mix those prompts together, I got blue and butterflies a little while back. So I have already done a butterfly illustration, but I was more than happy to do another one. This was really cute. I was excited to just draw something adorable and sweet and soft, and I used a lot of pinks and purples, which are always fun. And I just had fun with this one, to be honest. I just drew a really cartoony character who has big butterfly wings and then a bunch of butterflies flying around the outside of her, and yeah, I just had fun and made it cute. I decided to give her blonde hair for no particular reason, just so that I wanted to use some pale yellows and shade them with a pale pink shade, because I always think that looks really cute when blonde hair is shaded with a pale pink. And I did a little bit of a gradient on the bottom of her wings with a lighter peachier pink, and then that cerise colour, which I love to use. And yeah, honestly, all of the decisions I made for this one were just because I was having fun and wanted to draw something cute. And then right at the end, once I'd coloured the whole thing, I used a white pen and went over a bunch of areas and added lots of sparkles and little white dots and things just to brighten it up, and I think it's appropriate to do for a butterfly prompt, just add loads of sparkles everywhere, so that's what I did. I really like how this one turned out. It's really cute. And I just had a lot of fun with it. Prompt number 54 is kind of a weird one. So, for some reason last year when I wrote this prompt list, I wanted to add some kind of challenge prompts in there rather than just words. And like I said a little bit earlier, we had that prompt which was to use a random number generator and mix together two of the prompts from the list. So this is another one kind of along those lines. So I decided to pick a random page from an art book, because I have a lot of these how to draw books from when I was first starting out drawing, and then look at the image on that random page for I don't know, maybe half a minute, couple of seconds, I don't know, for an amount of time anyway, and then try to draw it from memory. But I decided, why not? I'll just do this challenge again this year. So I used the same how to draw book that I used last year, which you can see here. And here is the image that I randomly picked last year. So I just put the page numbers from the beginning of the book where the artwork actually starts. Like I skipped the first few pages because it's all just like text. And then to the last page, and I put those numbers into a random number generator, as you can see here, and picked a random number, and then went to the corresponding page in the book. And this page happened to have 2 characters on, so I just decided to pick one of those rather than overcomplicate things. I probably could have picked both of them and tried to draw them both in an illustration, but I just picked one of them, and then I looked at it for a while. I can't remember exactly how long. I think it was less than a minute though that I looked at it for. Tried to remember as much as I could about it, and then drew it to the best of my ability. So here is my attempt at recreating that illustration. I tried my best to remember. I managed to remember the colour scheme pretty well, and the kind of general pose of the character. It wasn't exactly alike to the original. There were a couple of things that I forgot. The angle wasn't quite right, and I didn't put as much shading and detail into the cape thing as in the original, which was interesting when I went and looked back on the 2 of them side by side. It was kind of interesting to see, like, I hadn't really done as much dynamic shading as I could have in comparison to the actual illustration, so that was really interesting and I learned a lot from that. I did also put a pink circle in the background just to kind of frame the character, and drew some sparkles around, which were not in the original image, and I knew that they weren't, but I just did it to kind of brighten up the image a little bit and make it a bit more fun. So, and I will show you a side-by-side up on the screen so you can see my attempt at this character side-by-side with the actual original drawing of this character. I don't think I did too badly. Oh, the hair I did different. I think I remembered that the hair was kind of blonde, and I remembered the kind of length of it, but I couldn't remember the exact shape that all the strands were in, so I kind of just made that up. And also I think that I coloured the hair a little bit too yellowish, whereas in the original it's more of a white blonde, but overall I don't think I did too badly. And prompt number 55 is birthday cats. So this prompt was drawn on my cat's birthday. Both of my cats are sisters, so they were born at pretty much the same time. And I just wanted a prompt in this challenge to be kind of dedicated to them. Last year when I wrote the prompt list for this challenge, I had a lot of fun adding in prompts that were on specific days, like I had the Halloween prompts running up to Halloween, I had the bonfire night prompts, I will have Christmas prompts as we approach closer to Christmas, and also I have my cat's birthday. So I did an illustration this year really similar to last year. I didn't want to do anything too different because I feel like it's kind of the perfect little thing to draw. I just really wanted to improve on it and do a better characterization of my cats. I did try and kind of capture the way that they're shaped a little bit better this year than last year. And when I looked back on last year's illustration, I thought it was a bit weird that I gave them a cake. I mean, a cake is kind of a traditional birthday thing, but cats can't really eat cake, so this year I went with a little treat packet in a little bowl. I thought that would be cute and a little bit more appropriate for my cats, and probably something they would like to receive on their birthday as opposed to a cake. I don't have too much to say about this one. I just had a lot of fun drawing my cats, and I coloured the circle in the background in a kind of lavender colour just because I really like that colour and I thought it would work well. Oh, I also did want to mention my cats are black, but I struggled a little bit with how to actually colour them black because the grey that I used actually to colour them is the darkest grey that I have before black. I do have a black marker, but it shows up really black, like you can't even see the line art through it. Or maybe you can when it fully dries, but I just didn't want to risk losing the line art. And I kind of thought about maybe doing the line art in a sort of white against that black or a different colour. I don't know, I couldn't really figure out in my mind a way to go about this so that I could actually colour them as dark as they appear in real life. So I just went with grey, and I think it still gives a similar effect, and you can kind of tell what I was going for, hopefully. But anyway, that is all the prompts for this week. This week's prompts weren't the absolute most exciting out of this challenge, I have to admit, but I did have fun with them. Anyway, regardless, I will see you next week with another bunch of prompts. Goodbye.